We're reading together through the book of Genesis right now and worked our way up to chapter 27. It's interesting as we go through these chapters and look at the narrative, what happened in the family that the family that was called to the Holy Land, to the land of promise. That their family life is really not exactly picture perfect. There's some real issues going on between the patriarchs, the ones that Israel looks back to and the ones we look back to. And yet they find their way to the Hebrews chapter 11, the chapter of faith. So there was definitely good things going on here, but there's also a lot of struggles as well. And we find a lot of that in chapter 27. Isaac is old. He thinks he's going to die. He can't see, verse 1. Interesting thing is that he would live for at least a couple more decades. We don't find him dying to chapter 35. And it was years. So perhaps he was sick, thought it was about the end. Definitely had lost his sight, but he does live for a lot longer after this, and probably lives in a lot of misery because of what happens here. We find in this chapter that this is a chapter of deceit. Everybody's deceiving everybody, except for Esau. Esau is the worst character in the chapter, and he's the one guy who is not being deceptive. He's got his other issues, but he's not being deceptive. But we find Isaac going to Esau in verse 4, and he tells him, I want you to go out into the wilderness and get some game here and bring it to me and make me a meal with that before I die. He's in verse 4. Now, Rebecca's listening, and so she comes up with a plan B. Now, you remember back in chapter 35, verse 23, or 25, verse 23, that the Lord had already told her there was two nations in her womb, and those two, there would be one people will be stronger than the other, and the older shall serve the younger. So the Lord had already told the couple, Jacob and or Isaac and Rebekah, that they were going to have two kids, and the younger was going to be the one that would receive the promises. He would be the leader. Well, Rebekah doesn't think that Isaac is doing right here. Isaac seems to be trying to get around that. And so he's going to go ahead and bless Esau, even though he should have known, surely did know, that Jacob was the one that would receive the blessings. But nevertheless, Rebekah decides God needs a little help, so she comes up with a plan, and they cook a wonderful meal for Isaac and takes it in. And of course, they dress him up here so that it seems like he's Esau. If you read the story, I trust you have. And even Jacob comes to his father and says, I am Esau, your firstborn. So he just flat out lies to Jacob, or to Isaac. I'm getting these names mixed up. Jacob lies to Isaac, and Isaac goes ahead and blesses him. Even though he says in verse 22, the voice is the voice of Jacob, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he did not recognize him because his hands were hairy like his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed him. And here we have the Abrahamic covenant as part of that blessing. And he starts here in verse 27. He says, come close and kiss. He came close and kissed him. And when he smelled the smell of the garments, he blessed him. And he said, see, the smell of my son is like the smell of a field which the Lord has blessed. Now, may God give you the dew of heaven and the fatness of the earth and an abundance of grain and new wine. May peoples serve you and nations bow down to you. Be master of your brothers. And may your mother's sons bow down to you. Cursed be those who curse you, and blessed be those who bless you. So that's part of the Abrahamic covenant, but this is the blessing that would go with the one that would follow him, follow Isaac. So it's a pretty ugly story. Everybody's deceived and nobody's happy. When Esau comes back in from the field, he finds out, yes, he's been tricked. He's lost the blessing. He's lost the birthright earlier. Now he loses the blessing. He's a second-class member of the family, and he knows it, and he is very, very upset. Matter of fact, in verse 41, he's planning, as soon as Isaac's out of the way, he's going to kill Jacob. And when Rebekah hears about that, she sends him off, or plans to send him off, so that he doesn't get killed by his brother. So that is where the story kind of ends. But it is kind of another little wrinkle to think about here. This family would go on for a long time after this, believe it or not. But Jacob is going to be gone. They're going to send Jacob away. Yeah, Rebecca doesn't want him killed. She wants her son. But look at how the story fleshes out. Rebecca never again gets to see her son in this life. He'll never come home when she's alive. So she loses him totally by doing this. Esau is angry and furious, and Jacob feels deceived by his own wife. What a family dynamic. And on top of that, verse 46, Rebekah says to Isaac, I'm tired of living because of the daughters of Heth. These are the wives of Esau. So her whole family dynamic is an absolute disaster. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that they were not following the Lord in integrity. They were trying to deceive one another and, in essence, get around God. And that is the storyline we have at this point.